Okay, so midlife, right? I don't even like that term, but perimenopause, menopause, maybe postmenopause, and you are really just trying to get into a groove of getting fit, right? And you've been doing things for a while. Like I say, you're doing the things, but you feel like you're not getting results. So I wanted to talk to you about that today. I wanted to take a few minutes and let's talk about mindset and menopause, but really, how do we know when or aren't we getting results? How do we make a shift? One of the things I talk about all the time to our ladies is you want to measure, monitor, and adjust. And if this is your first time joining me, I am Lydia Martinez Abilene, certified fitness and nutrition specialist and hormone health coach. And I've been in the industry on 30 years, but the last 15 years, I've solely focused on women and just when I say women, on helping them with their hormones, educating them on hormones and why they're so important, but how to balance their hormones, reset their metabolism, and really reclaim your life. So I'm doing some testing today here too. So I'm testing out, as you can tell, I'm testing out StreamYard, see if I like it. So I said, okay, why don't I just go ahead and come on and do a coaching session? So if you guys are ready, go ahead and comment in the comments that you're ready for a coaching session. Let's talk about results. We'll have people come to me and clients come to me and they'll say, you know what, Lydia, I'm not really getting any results. And here's the thing, you're always getting results, but you may not be getting the results that you want, right? That's the thing. Hey, awesome, ready. Got it ready there, joyful. Joyful McCoys, is that you, Teresa? Anyway, okay, so I'll stay focused here. All right, so you're always getting results, but you might not be getting the results that you want. But we got to rewind for a second. One of the things that I always say, nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. And what does that mean? And what does that have to do with your health and fitness journey? So many people, and I say people, women, will often say, well, I'm not getting results. I'm not seeing what I want to see, or things aren't happening fast enough. And we're not really tracking to even know. We don't know what calories we're taking in. We don't know where our macros are at. We don't know just anything. And the first thing when it comes to that is, because a lot of times there's different types of personalities to where they'll have kind of like that pushback on tracking. And when I talk about things, nothing will become dynamic until it becomes really specific. You have to know where your starting point is. So you need to know if you really want to sculpt your body, you want to feel better, you want to balance your hormones, anything that it is, when it comes to your body, instead of just going out and doing a bunch of things and hoping something works, you have to first know where you are. I always talk about when you're going to go on a trip and you're going to drive to that trip. I'm here in Florida, so I am going to, go to Orlando and I want to go to Disney World. Well, to have the quickest, fastest route, it means that I got to tell my GPS where my starting point is. And so many women don't know where their starting point is. They don't know. They're like, I need to eat healthier. Well, what does that mean? Because how are you eating right now? You assume that you're eating bad, but do you really have that um specified, you know what I mean, like laid out, like what's bad? You're assuming that you're eating bad, but really, are you? Maybe you're taking in foods that you're intolerant to. Okay, well, that's not good for you. Maybe you're eating highly refined, highly processed food. Okay, but then what are the things that are you doing right? What is your starting point? Instead of just saying, I have to clean everything out and I need to work out 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, and never eat anything fattening again. Find out where you are first, okay? And we always have our ladies do this. And the first thing that we want them to do is that we just want you to download an app, whether it's the Lose It app or MyFitnessPal or whatever food tracking app you want. Do that first and just don't change anything. just know what you're doing, right? What they say, the first step to recovery is awareness, right? That's what we're focused on. We're recovering. So we first know where we are. So we need to know where we actually are. So we're going to track for 7 days, and we're going to know what calories that we're taking in. We're going to know how much protein we're taking in. We're going to know how much fat we're taking in, how much carbohydrates we're taking in. Then from there, you're able to draft a plan, and there's more to it because you do need to know where your hormones are. You need to know what your body fat percentage is. There's different things that you need to know, but I'm just talking about the basics. So if you don't know that in general, and then you're making adjustments, and then you feel like you're not getting results, well, you don't even know if you got results because you didn't even know where you started. Get it? Now, let's say, that you know where you are. You're following whatever program. For example, one of the things that we teach with what we do, it's Hormone Macro Code body typing and a Hormone Macro Code system. So we have you go through a cleanse, a hormone reset cleanse first, and it's all macro specific, but it's in specific ratios to help cleanse your body, reduce inflammation, support or start healing your gut and support your liver so we can open up what we call your metabolic pathways. So that's the first thing. Next thing is we got to identify like your carb intolerance. And all the way we're doing this, the first thing that we still had you do is we had you track. So then you're following the system and people are like, should I change my macros? Should I increase my workout? I'm like, okay, first, where are you? Okay. Second thing is now you've been following whatever system. Well, how many weeks have you been following X, Y, or Z? So if it's one of our ladies that comes to us, okay, so how long have you been following? You did the cleanse for 2 weeks, yes? 14 days, okay. Now, how long have you been following your macro carb profiling type? Only 1 week. Okay, well, it's supposed to be 4 weeks. So we don't change anything yet. Then the next step is we do your hormone macro carb, or not carb, but hormone macro code body typing. We'll get those things out, right? So then we do that, okay? And they'll say, okay, how long have you been following? That's what I'm going to ask you. How many weeks have you actually been following your specific calorie intake, your specific protein intake, your specific fat intake, your specific carb intake? Oh, I've only been following it for 7 days. Well, then there's no data. See, that's really important. There's no data there. See, then one of the things I put in the title here, I put mindset and menopause. Because, well, I mean, we're dealing with women that perimenopause, menopause, but mindset is a big thing. And when it comes to getting the results that you want, thinking about the data and not being emotional about it and just tracking data and getting data so you can make educated decisions. I always talk about deductive reasoning, but there's no deductive reasoning if you don't have data, if you have nothing to pull from. So going back to, I said, okay, how many weeks have you actually been tracking your calories? How many weeks have you been tracking your macros? How many weeks have you been following the workout consistently? And if it's 7 days, then that's not enough. Okay. So then, and if someone says to me, well, I'm not really tracking, well, then that's where we need to start. Why am I sharing this with you? Because if you think that you're not getting results, you have to ask yourself certain questions so you know how to what? Measure, monitor, and adjust. But if we don't have any data, you don't know you have nothing to measure. You don't have anything to monitor, and then you don't have anything to adjust. Get it? So we want to measure, monitor, adjust. But you don't just adjust in 7 days. So this is how we operate. First thing, when it comes to like your metabolism, the food part of it, you don't want to be shifting things around. We have a cleanse because that's a protocol, but when we do specific lifestyle food intake, 4 weeks, you want to give yourself 4 weeks, at least 4 weeks, up to 6 weeks, up to 8 weeks for some type of adjustment. The body itself, when it comes to a physiological response, when you're doing like bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, when you are taking in supplements, when you're eating a specific way, it's 90 days for that physiological response. But it doesn't mean that you can't do adjustments in between there, right? Because macros is a number formula. But just because it's a formula and it's numbers and it's based on protein, fat, and carbohydrates, it doesn't, that mathematical equation doesn't mean that it's absolute and perfect. Why? Because your body, number one, is dynamic. Number two, those formulas don't always take in consideration it doesn't take in, it might ask you for your age, but it doesn't take in consideration where is your body right now. It doesn't take in consideration your hormonal imbalances. It's not taking in consideration, any past injuries or any past surgeries, or what stress that you're under, what medications have you been on or are you on, right? So I'm going over a lot of stuff right now, but I want you to think about those things. But 90 days of a physiological response, but it doesn't mean that you don't measure, monitor, and adjust. But you still have to have the right type of data, and you need to give it time for data. See, 7 days is just a snapshot, but we want the full reel. But if you're not tracking, if you don't know where you started, and if you don't know things in between, then again, you don't have the right enough information to make an educated decision on what your next best step should be. Does that make sense? Okay. So first thing, like I said, I ask is how many weeks have you actually been following it? And, I'm talking about our system. Like the cleanse protocol can be 14 days up to 6 weeks. The carb typing body type of formula for macros is 4 weeks. And then when we do your hormone macro code body type, that's 90 days. Okay. So then I'm going to ask them, how long have you been following it? If it hasn't been, those numbers, then we say, okay, we got to wait. Okay. But then let's say you've been following whatever program that you're on for 4 weeks. Okay. That's safe. We can work with that. Or maybe it's 6 weeks. Next question is, am I achieving the results that I want? Yes, somewhat, no, or I don't know. What do I mean by that? Perfect example is, okay, you say, I'm not getting any results. Okay, so what is your weight? What are your measurements? What are your inches? Is your strength? What does your workout look like? What does your sleep look like? We got to look at everything. Because first, people think that they're not getting results. Okay, what is the goal that you're looking to achieve? So I'm just going to put it in the terms of weight loss and fat loss. Okay, so you're looking for numbers to go down. And sometimes people think, well, I'm not getting any results. Well, did you measure before you start? Did you weigh before you start? Did you take pictures before you started? Well, no. Well, then how do you know you're not getting any results? Right? So that means that you got to have the right data, the right information. So how do you measure, monitor, adjust? You have to go back and you have to weigh. You need to measure, do the inches. You need to check your body fat. And if there's any movement in any one of those 3 areas, in your weight, in your inches, in your body fat, in a downward trend, then you're getting results. Now, it may not be going as fast as you want, and you can't determine how fast your body will respond. All you can determine is your mindset around it and the actions that you take. And your body will respond to things that you consistently do, good or bad, not things that you do perfectly for a short period of time. So that's the next question. Am I receiving the results? Okay, so maybe if you're saying no or somewhat, okay, then all right, where is it that it's not going fast enough? Okay, so if it's not going fast enough, this is where we start really like peeling the onion back, asking the questions. Okay, so if it's not moving fast enough, let's look at the data. Are my numbers in a downward trend? Weight, inches, or body fat? Yes or no? Period. Yes or no? And it's not, well, my weight went down, but my inches didn't, or my inches went down, but my weight didn't. Is any one of those things moving? Okay. If that's moving, then it means your body's responding. And so you keep doing, you don't want to change things if your body's responding in the downward trend that we're looking for. But you're like, Lydia, it's not moving fast enough. So then that's when we go to the next question of, well, how consistent have you been with reaching your calories? Like within range. Like you didn't have to be perfect, but it's like you're 100 under or 100 over. How consistent? You're very consistent, somewhat consistent, not at all. See, because those questions, those answers are going to tell us something. Okay, so well, if you're saying I'm very consistent, I'm tracking every day, I've been somewhat close to my calories on a weekly basis, because we got to look at the week, that's the snapshot. And the real is 4 weeks, 12, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Then, okay, we don't want to change anything there. But if it's somewhat or not at all, then you don't even need to ask yourself any more questions. That's the first thing. If you're not getting the results, that's the first thing that you need to focus on. Or if they're not moving fast enough, you don't need to do a bunch of different changes in order for your results to move fast enough. You just have to ask yourself the right questions, the quality questions, say, okay, well, if it's a somewhat or not at all, this is where we need to make the tweak right now. But let's say, like I said, you said you're very consistent with your calories. So then the next question would be, how consistent have I been with reaching my protein grams? Again, very consistent, somewhat consistent, not at all consistent. Get it? So if you're saying I'm very consistent with my protein, okay, then we need to move to the next question. But if you're saying somewhat or not at all, then the protein is what you need to focus on. We start with the calories, then we go to the protein, then we go to get it to the fat, to the carbs. So you keep asking the questions, but if you're saying very, then you go to the next question. If you're saying somewhat or not at all, then you stay there. You don't need to keep asking the questions. That's where you need to tweak. That's the measure, monitor, and adjust. Does that make sense? So then you ask, okay, either you ask yourself about the carbohydrates, you ask yourself about the fat. And then one of the things that we have our ladies do is you want to do a refeed. So let's say you're saying, I'm very consistent with my calories. I'm very consistent with my protein grams, meeting my protein grams, meeting my fat grams, meeting my carbohydrate grams. But it's still not moving fast enough, or it's even stalled. Lydia, I'm doing it. It's stalled. Okay. So are you practicing what we call the refeed days, where we're boosting up like your calories in the form of carbohydrates to support your metabolism, to support leptin production? Oh no, I forgot about refeed days. Or it's not even about forgetting refeed days. So many women are afraid of calories, and what they're doing is causing metabolic adaptation. When they increase their calories, and Teresa, I think you experienced this. When you really started focusing on increasing your calories, then you started to see movement in whether it was the scale or inches and inflammation. So you cannot go on a restrictive low calorie diet for a long period of time, right? Caloric restriction or caloric deficit is okay because this is how we boost our metabolism. But when you go too long, right, then or you restrict your fat for too long, or you restrict your carbohydrates for too long, your body will start to slow down naturally. It's going to go to that. It's going to feel like it's in some type of survival state. It's saying, hey, I'm not getting the nutrients that I need. It must be famine, so then I'm going to slow everything down. That's that metabolic adaptation. So if you, like I said, you said, I'm very, very, very with calories, very with protein, very with carbohydrates, very with fat, but I'm not doing the refeed days, then there you go. Or you say, I'm very consistent with refeed days, somewhat consistent, not at all. Remember, anytime it's very, then we move to the next question. If it's somewhat or not at all, then that's where you need to focus. But then you say, okay, I'm doing all of these things. Okay, well, have you incorporated, now the next question is, Are you following your workout protocol? Or have you incorporating your strength training workout at all? Yes, no, not somewhat, not at all. Then we know strength training needs to happen. See, it's all about putting the pieces together. And then you say, based off of all those answers, where do I need to measure, monitor, and adjust? And you're like, okay, well, I'm doing the workout too, and things aren't happening. So then that's where we really want to get into the weeds of, okay, what's your stress level look like? What do your stress levels look like? What does your sleep look like? What does your supplementation look like? Where are your hormones right now? Those are the things, the next level of questions that you need to ask yourself. But majority of the time when we're working with women, see, that's what we do up front. And we look at, okay, your hormones, we look at your stress and all of the different things, and then you follow the system. And as you're following the system and you're not getting results, majority of the time, what I was going to say, when you ask yourself, or they ask themselves these questions, they don't even get halfway through the questions because boom, it's right there. Like right now, I could go through every one of our clients, and I'm not going to. Every one of our personalized coaching clients right now, and I could tell you, each one, she's not getting her calories in or her protein in. This one's an overthinker and stressing herself out, so she's pushing her cortisol up. This one has too much on her schedule, so she's always putting herself last. This one is not eating enough carbohydrates. So I could go through and break down each one of them, right? And usually the reason I share that with you is because really those questions are powerful. And they, again, if you get the somewhat or not all, it's going to show you where you need to measure, monitor, and adjust. Get it? So I know that's a lot, but I'm going to pause here because you're thinking, well, I'm not following that type of system, or I need to learn more. And that's perfect. One of the things that we have coming up, I say, wait, my husband and I, we're doing a half-day master class coming up next Saturday, 10 a.m. You can go to hormonemacrocode.com, and we're going to show you everything from what's going on with your body, why it's not responding, especially if you're perimenopause, menopause, or even post-menopause. We're going to show you what we call the hormone weight gain cycle. But most importantly, what do you do about it? And we're going to take you through identifying your top 5 hormonal imbalances. And then you're actually going to have a snapshot of what your macros and calories should look like, what your fasting schedule should look like, what your supplement schedule should look like, all of these different things. So when we're done with you in this masterclass, you're going to know what your next best step should be, and it's completely free. So go ahead and go to hormonemacrocode.com. But one of the things I'm going to suggest is that you upgrade to our VIP backstage experience, because this is where you're going to get more hands-on, where we do private bonus sessions for our backstage pass holders. And you'll get more coaching, you'll get more direction and more clarification. It's going to be, and I didn't say the date, but I'll go ahead and say the date, September 6th, 10 a.m. Eastern, half day, completely free. And we're going to show you how to reset or balance your hormones, reset your metabolism, and reclaim your life so you can live in your God-given purpose. But most importantly, you're going to be walking away with more clarity, less frustration, and collapse time to get the results, not only that you want, but you deserve. If this helped you, or if you have questions, go ahead and comment in the comments. If you want me to come on live again and talk about something else, I would love to hear from you, and I'll do it. Just go ahead and comment in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe to get notifications, because this is the place. If you're looking for hormone healthy tips on health, fitness, all things health, fitness, and hormones, then this is the spot for you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you guys later.